The towel dropped from my hands, but I didn't flinch. Her laugh, a dry, hollow chuckle that bounced off the laundry room tiles, hung in the air like mildew. "You're lucky I even let you touch me." That's what she said. Like I was some leper who'd won a raffle. Like decades of providing, fixing, covering her mistakes, and paying off her credit card messes were just some pathetic tribute she tolerated out of politeness. She turned, humming, tossing her blouse into the dryer like nothing had happened. I just watched her. Not angry, not even sad. Something quieter, sharper. I folded the last t-shirt, that old one from the state fair we went to, back before her veneers, before her Pilates instructor with the stupid name, before she stopped asking how my day was. I folded it with more care than I'd handled her in months. Then I placed it neatly on the stack and walked out. In the hallway, her phone buzzed. A giggle. Another message. Another little compliment from whoever she thought was her escape hatch. Her voice changed when she texted lately. Eerier, like she was suddenly 20 again. I used to like that sound. Now it just reminded me how good liars always enjoy the setup. I passed the hall mirror and looked at myself. Wrinkled? Sure. Maybe slower than I was at 40. But I built machines that could carve titanium to half a human hair's width. I ran a team of 20 men who didn't dare miss a measurement. I wasn't some slob hoping for scraps of affection. But in this house, I was a placeholder. And placeholders don't argue. We execute. That night, while she scrolled through Instagram in bed, wine glass in hand, I sat in my office. I opened the oak box I'd carved years ago. It was supposed to hold cufflinks. Instead, it held clarity. Empty now, but not for long. I powered up my laptop. No rush, no drama. Just a man doing what he always did, cataloging, protecting, cleaning up someone else's mess. And I started a folder. I named it June Justice. Because evidence weighs more than feelings. And if my wife thought I was some fool to be strung along, she hadn't met the man who never missed a measurement. The house went quiet around 11:17 p.m. My wife, Vanessa, had dozed off in bed, tablet sliding off her chest, some real estate podcasts still whispering about market trends she didn't understand without her assistant explaining them. I sat in the office with only the desk lamp on. Quiet, steady. That oak box in front of me. Empty, waiting. The printer whirred to life. First came the emails. A realtor friend of hers, Celeste, had CC'd Vanessa on fun weekends in Ridge Hill. Except the dates matched perfectly with the training conferences she told me about. One even included a rental car receipt. Vanessa's name. 2 drivers listed. Spoiler, I wasn't one of them. Then came the texts. 6 months ago, I synced her phone to the family iPad. She thought it was just for Netflix in the guest room. She never noticed the messages trickling in, bright little breadcrumbs. One stuck out. Her, "Can't wait to see you outside the sheets for once LOL." Him, thumbs up and a photo, shirtless, hotel bathroom, wallpaper I recognized. The Burstone Hotel. Again, that place always smelled like lavender and stale desperation. I didn't stop there. I scrolled further. She was sweet to him, sugary sweet. Nothing like the bark and size I got. Then came the line that made my knuckles white. "He's nice but dull." A placeholder. My life started late. Dull. Placeholder. I saved everything. Screenshots, PDFs, timestamped. Copied them 3 ways. Flash drive, cloud, encrypted folder on the desktop. Labeled, sorted, precise. She always thought my slowness was weakness. "You move like you're buffering," she once joked at dinner with friends. They laughed. I smiled. But slowness isn't weakness. It's precision. Around midnight, she shuffled downstairs in that robe she wore when she wanted to play affectionate wife. "You didn't say goodnight," she pouted. "I figured you were tired of touching me." I smiled when I said it. Her eyes blinked, faltered. Then she muttered, "You're being dramatic." I nodded. Slowly, calmly. Men like me don't need second chances. We need evidence. She didn't get it then, but she would. The next week, she came home late 3 nights in a row. "Client dinners," she said, kissing the air near my cheek like I was some distant uncle. She smelled like wine, cologne that wasn't mine, and lies rehearsed in the car. "Busy week." I asked once. She smirked. "You wouldn't understand." That smirk, God, it was a gift. Because people only smirk when they think they've won. And I've always believed arrogance is the loudest confession. Meanwhile, I kept stacking the file. Screenshots of texts, geotags she didn't know were attached to photos, receipts she tossed without looking. I even had a neat little clip of her client meeting thanks to the restaurant's live stream camera. Funny thing about public spaces, privacy's not guaranteed. One night, while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop. She was careless with her passwords, used the dog's name for everything. I found a folder labeled taxes. Inside, nothing but pictures. Her and him. Mostly selfies, grainy, hotel mirrors. She must have thought she was clever, hiding them under numbers I'd never bother with. I copied them all. Didn't even blink. At dinner Friday night, she tested me. Put her phone face up on the table, buzz after buzz lighting it up. I didn't look. She wanted me to. She wanted me rattled, jealous, squirming. Instead, I just buttered my bread and asked her about the new paint color in the dining room. She hated that. She wanted a scene. I gave her silence. That silence scared her more than yelling ever could. Later, she leaned in with a fake sweetness. You know, I could leave any time I want. I sipped my drink, held her gaze, and replied, so could I. But only one of us walks away whole. She tilted her head, confused for a second. Then she laughed it off, thinking I was bluffing. But here's the thing about bluffing. Only amateurs play with empty hands. That if you want to know how people ruin themselves, don't look at the big decisions. Look at the patterns. A liar can put on a show for an hour, maybe a day, but stretch it over weeks and months? The cracks sing louder than a confession. Vanessa's first mistake came on a Wednesday. She texted me that she was stuck in a client dinner downtown. Said it was dragging late, that I shouldn't wait up. 10 minutes later, my iPad pinged with her synced location, 30 miles away in Ridge Hill, at a boutique hotel I knew well. I saved the pin. Her second mistake was sloppier. She left a receipt in the laundry. Dinner for two, wine bottle priced like a mortgage payment, signed with her flourish. At the bottom, a little note scrawled by the waiter. Happy anniversary. I knew our anniversary wasn't in October, but apparently, hers with the contractor was. I slipped the receipt into the oak box. Evidence, neat and tidy. No confrontation, no fireworks. Just patience. Her third mistake? That one was funny. She started calling me by his name. Not often, just once, when she was half asleep. She mumbled it like a prayer. I didn't wake her. I just memorized the sound of her betrayal and stored it somewhere cold. Now, here's the part you won't believe. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Anger burns too fast. What I felt was sharper. Like a scalpel. I wasn't looking for revenge yet. I was looking for clarity. And clarity came every night around midnight, when she thought I was asleep. She'd sneak into the kitchen, glass of wine in hand, whispering into her phone. I could hear her giggles float through the vents, syrupy and fake. You're so bad, she'd whisper. I can't wait to get away. She thought I was deaf to it. But I was downstairs in the office, headset on, recording. I had set the house system to pick up her calls from the smart speaker she insisted on installing. Irony's a sweet thing. Her little piece of modern luxury turned into my surveillance system. One night, I listened back to her conversation while sipping coffee. He was bragging about buying her a necklace. She cooed like a teenager. I replayed it twice, not because I enjoyed it, but because I wanted to memorize every word. Words are evidence. Evidence is leverage. Leverage wins wars. By the end of the month, the oak box was filling nicely. Emails, receipts, photos, call logs, recordings. Everything stacked and dated like a lawyer's dream exhibit. She was busy rehearsing her great escape, and I was quietly writing the script of her downfall. The friend test. Now, every strategist needs allies, or at least decoys. I tested the waters with her best friend, Marcy. The two of them had been inseparable since college, though Vanessa always pretended to be the star of that duo. Over coffee one afternoon, I casually mentioned, funny how often Vanessa's out these days. Work must be killing her. Marcy gave me a look I recognized, the look of someone holding a secret too heavy to carry gracefully. She tried to cover it with a sip of her latte, but her eyes flickered. Oh yeah, she said lightly. Busy season, you know. That was all I needed. She knew, or at least suspected. Friends always do. And that meant when the time came, Marcy would either be a witness or collateral. Either way, I filed her into the plan. The Burstone slip. One Friday, Vanessa told me she was heading to a networking event. She even dressed like she was trying to win an award. Heels, red dress, perfume that could choke a horse. Don't wait up, she said, kissing the air near my cheek again. I nodded, smiled. Be safe. An hour later, I was parked across from the Burstone Hotel, watching her Range Rover pull in. I didn't storm in, didn't confront her in the lobby. That's what amateurs do, show their hand too early. Instead, I snapped a photo of her and the contractor walking inside, arms linked like they'd earned each other. Date stamped, geotagged, high resolution. I forwarded it to my encrypted folder. Then I drove home, grilled a steak, and watched the game. Calm, patient, precise. She stumbled in after midnight, mascara smudged, hair messy, smile plastered. How was the networking? I asked from the couch. She froze for half a second, then recovered. Exhausting. You wouldn't have liked it. You're right, I said, sipping my drink. Not my scene. And just like that, another nail slid quietly into the coffin she was building for herself. The placeholder speech. A week later, she finally slipped enough to let her contempt show. We were at dinner, the two of us alone, candlelight bouncing off the silverware. She swirled her wine and sighed like a martyr. You know, I need excitement. Not routine. You're steady, sure, but steady isn't passion. Steady isn't life. I just nodded, chewing slowly. She leaned closer, her voice dripping with smugness. Honestly, you're more like a placeholder. Something to lean on until the real thing comes along. I set down my fork, dabbed my mouth with the napkin, and looked her dead in the eye. Good to know, I said softly. She smirked, thinking she'd scored a point. She didn't realize she'd just signed the foreword to her own obituary, the figurative kind. Because in that moment, I knew the revenge wouldn't just be about proving her wrong. It would be about proving me right. And placeholders? We don't beg. We don't fight in the open. We dismantle. The calm before. The oak box was nearly full now. Emails, photos, receipts, recordings, all lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. She thought she was running the show. But the truth was simple. She was performing in a play, and I was the director. Every late-night whisper, every smug smirk, every careless slip, I had it all. And the best part? She had no idea. Not a clue. She believed I was blind, boring, predictable. She thought the silence meant surrender. But silence is just the sound of a storm pulling itself together. And when it breaks, it doesn't warn you. It swallows you whole. That night, while she scrolled through her phone in bed, I lay beside her, wide awake. She giggled at something on the screen. Probably him. I didn't look. I stared at the ceiling, breathing steady, every detail locked in place. The oak box wasn't just evidence anymore. It was destiny. And soon, very soon, Vanessa would learn the difference between escaping a marriage and being evicted from one. Permanently, there's a funny thing about betrayal. The cheater always thinks it's private. They believe it's a shadow act, tucked away in hotel rooms, whispered over wine glasses, hidden in text threads full of emojis. What they forget is that the world has eyes. People notice patterns. And when the time is right, you can turn those quiet observations into an audience. That became my focus, audience. Not confrontation, not yelling, not even divorce papers yet. No, I wanted her to step into the spotlight she'd been craving, only to find it wasn't admiration waiting there, it was exposure. The networking web. I started small. A casual lunch with Marcus, a lawyer friend who owed me more than a few favors. He'd helped me out of a business dispute years ago, and we'd kept in touch. Over a club sandwich and iced tea, I slid a flash drive across the table. Tell me if this paints the picture I think it does. He plugged it into his laptop. His eyebrows rose as he scrolled. Emails, receipts, photos, recordings, neatly labeled and chronologically ordered. Good Lord, he muttered. This isn't a picture, it's a mural. I nodded. Keep it safe. This isn't for court yet. It's for theater. Marcus leaned back, studying me. Theater? Yeah, I said calmly. When the curtain rises, I want her to be the star. Only she won't know it's a tragedy until it's too late. Testing the rumor mill. Next, I tested the waters socially. Nothing direct, just a little fuel for the fire. At a barbecue, I casually mentioned to a mutual friend that Vanessa seemed stressed lately. All those late nights, hotel dinners, hope she's not overdoing it. That's all I said. Just a drop. But gossip is gasoline. Within a week, I heard from another circle that Vanessa was burning herself out with work and probably seeing clients too often. People were already starting to connect dots that didn't exist yet. Perfect. Vanessa, meanwhile, strutted around the neighborhood like a queen bee, posting photos of open houses that were actually spa days, tagging herself at wine bars with captions about closing deals. Every post, every caption, every lie, I screenshotted and filed. The best part? She thought she was untouchable. She even bragged to Marcy one night in our kitchen, not knowing I was in the hallway. He's so dull he'll never figure it out. I could walk out tomorrow, and he'd still ask if I wanted dinner first. I smiled in the dark. She had no idea the dinner was already being plated. The contractor slip. Now, her boyfriend, the contractor, wasn't exactly a mastermind. The guy once installed a deck upside down, and he was careless. One afternoon, I drove by the Burstone again, parked in the back, out of sight, and there they were, standing outside, arguing about something. He stormed off first, leaving her to fumble with her keys. I rolled down my window just enough to hear her hiss into the phone. "Don't you dare text me when I'm home. He's suspicious enough already." Suspicious enough. I smiled. If she only knew. The next morning, I printed that photo I'd snapped, her and him, arms linked at the hotel. I sealed it in an envelope, no note, no signature, and mailed it to her brokerage office. Just one copy, dropped into the hands of her boss. By Friday, Vanessa was pacing in the kitchen, phone glued to her ear. "I swear, it was a business dinner," she hissed, fake laughter coating her voice. People always misinterpret things. You know how rumors start. I stirred my coffee calmly, like I wasn't the rumor. Like I wasn't the director behind the curtain, laying the public trap. You see, her identity wasn't built on love. It was built on image. She needed people to think she was the glamorous, hardworking, successful woman who had it all. A stable husband at home, a sparkling career, a social circle that envied her. So my revenge had to strip that image bare. And nothing strips faster than public humiliation. I began drafting an event. Not a literal one at first, just the framework. An anniversary party, perhaps, or a fundraiser. Something public enough to draw a crowd, but intimate enough that the right people would be there. I floated the idea of a small dinner to Vanessa, testing her reaction. "Maybe we should host something," I said one night over salmon. "It's been a while since we had friends over." She rolled her eyes. "Ugh, entertaining is exhausting. Why don't you just write a check if you're feeling generous?" "Maybe I will," I said, smiling. She didn't ask what I meant. She never did. The social media time bomb. Meanwhile, I built my quiet masterpiece, a folder labeled Public. Inside were choice cuts, screenshots of her texts, hotel receipts, selfies with her lover, audio clips of her whispering things she'd never dare say aloud. I created a burner social media account. Nothing flashy, just a plain profile, no posts, no friends. But it had one purpose: distribution. Not yet, though. Timing was everything. Drop the bomb too early, and she'd wriggle free. Too late, and it would feel petty. The key was precision. Her smugness peaks. One night, as if the universe wanted to remind me why this had to end poetically, Vanessa gave me her full speech. We were sitting in the living room. She had her wine glass, her fake laugh, her smug little robe. "You know," she said, "I sometimes wonder why I even stay. You're fine, but you're not exciting. Not passionate. Honestly, you're just safe. A placeholder. My life started late, and I don't want to waste what's left of it babysitting you." I didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Instead, I leaned back in my chair and said, "Funny. Because I don't think placeholders exist. I think some people are just rehearsals for the real performance." She squinted at me, confused. Then she shrugged and went back to her phone. She thought she'd won the exchange. But what she didn't know was that the curtain was already rising. The quiet countdown. By then, the oak box was almost overflowing. Evidence stacked like bricks, each one a foundation stone for what was coming. I had the lawyer. I had the photos. I had the rumors already trickling through her office. I even had Marcy teetering on the edge of betrayal, ready to talk if pushed. Vanessa thought she was building her escape. In truth, she was building my stage. And every careless move she made, every smirk, every late night, it was just more material for the show. Soon, very soon, she would step into the spotlight she'd been craving. And the applause she expected? It would be laughter. The kind that doesn't lift you up. The kind that tears you apart. The day I set the stage started like any other. Coffee in the kitchen. Silence between us, so thick you could slice it with a butter knife. Vanessa in her robe, scrolling through Instagram with that fake laugh she saved for her audience. She thought the silence meant she was winning. That's the funny thing about silence. To the smug, it feels like surrender. To the patient, it's strategy, the seed of a celebration. I mentioned it casually, like an afterthought. You know, our anniversary's coming up. 21 years. She didn't even look up. So, so maybe we should celebrate. Invite some friends. Family. Make it special. She chuckled, sipping her coffee. Special? Please. No one cares about anniversaries anymore. Besides, I don't want to spend the night listening to your boring stories. I smiled faintly. Don't worry. You won't have to. And with that, the plan crystallized. Invitations with a twist. Over the next week, I sent out invitations. Not digital, not some lazy Facebook event. No, proper envelopes, embossed with gold trim. People still respect something that feels permanent, tangible. Join us for a night of gratitude and celebration. The card read. Hosted by Aaron and Vanessa. No details about what would be celebrated. Just enough intrigue to guarantee attendance. Neighbors. Her colleagues from the brokerage. A few friends of mine she barely tolerated. Even Marcy, her best friend with the loose lips. And the guest list had one special addition, the contractor. Of course, I didn't invite him directly. That would have been too obvious. Instead, I invited one of his friends, knowing full well the invitation would end up in his hands. Men like him can't resist showing off at someone else's expense. The Oak Box rehearsal. Every night, I rehearsed. Not in the mirror, not with notes, just in my head, turning over each line until it was polished like stone. The Oak Box sat on my desk, overflowing now. Receipts, texts, recordings, photos. Evidence stacked so high the brass hinges barely closed. I pictured the moment. Me, standing before a room full of people, opening that little box, letting the truth spill out like confetti. No screaming, no violence, just exposure. Pure, undeniable exposure. Her smugness peaks. The week of the party, Vanessa was glowing. She thought I was finally giving her what she wanted, an event to flaunt, an excuse to play the star. She bought a new dress. Hired a stylist. Even posted a teaser photo online. Big night coming up. Can't wait to celebrate love, success, and new beginnings. Two hearts #blessed. I screenshotted it, of course. Another receipt. Another shard of irony for the finale. One night, as she twirled in front of the mirror in that dress, she smirked at me. Try not to embarrass yourself at the party. This is important for me. I nodded slowly. Trust me, you'll be unforgettable. She laughed, missing the weight in my words. The night arrives. The house looked like a magazine spread. Caterers in black aprons, champagne glasses lined up on silver trays, candles flickering against polished wood. Vanessa floated through the room like a queen, soaking up compliments, basking in the attention. She pulled me aside once, whispering in my ear, "See? This is how it's supposed to feel. Exciting. Alive. Not boring." I smiled at her. Oh, it's alive, all right. The guest of dishonor. At exactly 8:47 p.m., he walked in. The contractor. Tall, smug, overdressed in a suit that didn't fit his shoulders. Vanessa's eyes flickered when she saw him. Shock first, then panic, then something she quickly smothered with a forced smile. Business acquaintance, she stammered to a colleague nearby. I caught her gaze across the room and raised my glass in a toast. She didn't raise hers back. The speech. By 9:15, the room buzzed with laughter and small talk. Glasses clinked. Cameras flashed. Everyone was waiting for the obligatory thank you speech. I tapped my glass with a fork. The room hushed. Vanessa beamed, assuming I was about to wax poetic about our marriage. I began calmly, voice steady. Thank you all for coming tonight. 21 years is a long time, and I wanted to take a moment to honor what it really means. Vanessa leaned against the mantel, smiling like she'd won an award. Marriage, I continued, is about trust. It's about honesty. It's about building something solid, something unshakable. And sometimes, when cracks appear, it's about how you handle them. I reached for the oak box on the table beside me. Vanessa's smile faltered. This little box has been with me a long time, I said. I carved it myself, meant to hold cufflinks. But over the past year, it's held something else. Evidence. Clarity. Truth. I opened it. Papers, photos, flash drives. The room shifted, people craning their necks. Vanessa stiffened, her hands clenching at her sides. I pulled out the first photo. Her and the contractor at the Burstone, arms linked. I held it high. Funny thing about lies, I said softly. They don't disappear. They accumulate. And eventually, they weigh more than the person telling them. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Vanessa's face drained of color. Here, I continued, laying out receipts, emails, screenshots, hotel bills, texts, pictures. A whole second life built on deception. Marcy covered her mouth. Vanessa's boss whispered something to a colleague, eyes wide. The contractor shifted uncomfortably, tugging at his collar. Vanessa finally found her voice. "You're making a scene," she hissed. "No," I said evenly. "I'm telling a story. Your story. And I want everyone here to hear it." The final blow. I closed the oak box gently, the brass hinges clicking shut. "Vanessa, you once called me a placeholder. Someone dull, someone safe, someone to lean on until something better came along." I looked around the room, meeting every pair of eyes. Well, placeholders don't argue. We don't beg. We execute. And tonight, this isn't about revenge. It's about reality. I pulled a beige folder from beneath the box, the divorce papers. Clean and aggressive, signed and dated. "Effective immediately," I said, handing them to her. "This marriage is over. You walk away with nothing but the reputation you've built. And after tonight, I don't think that reputation will take you very far." The room was silent, every eye on her. She opened the folder with trembling hands. Papers slid out, scattering across the floor. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." The contractor stepped forward, as if to steady her. But she shoved him back, rage flashing across her face. "You planned this," she spat at me. I smiled faintly. Of course I did. The aftermath. People began filing out, whispering, shaking their heads. Her colleagues avoided her gaze. Marcy lingered a moment, then left without a word. Vanessa stood in the wreckage, eyes wild, dress glittering under the harsh light. She looked less like a queen and more like a performer who'd forgotten her lines. And me? I walked out calmly, glass of champagne in hand. Not angry, not triumphant. Just finished. Because revenge isn't about screaming. It's about timing. It's about pulling the rug so slowly they don't even notice until they're on the ground. And Vanessa never saw the stage collapsing beneath her feet. The morning after the party, the house felt like a tomb. No music, no chatter, no clinking of wine glasses. Just silence, thick as wet cement. Vanessa sat at the kitchen table in her robe, mascara smudged like war paint, scrolling her phone with trembling hands. Every so often, she'd mutter under her breath, "Idiots, jealous idiots," as if sheer denial could glue her image back together. The calls started coming. First, her boss. "Take a leave of absence, Vanessa. This kind of scandal doesn't just blow over." Then, her mother. "How could you humiliate us like this?" Finally, Marcy. I can't be in the middle of this." Click. She hurled her phone across the kitchen. It skidded under the counter, buzzing like a trapped insect. "You think you won?" she spat when she noticed me standing in the doorway. "Everyone will forget. They always forget." I poured myself coffee, calm as ever. "Maybe. But banks don't forget. Employers don't forget. Judges don't forget." She glared at me, eyes bloodshot. "You're pathetic. You need me. You wouldn't last a day without me." I took a slow sip. "Try me." See, the party wasn't the end. It was the overture. The real music was in the dismantling that followed. The divorce papers weren't just a bluff. They were a blueprint. My lawyer had lined it all up. Her credit card debts separated cleanly onto her shoulders, the house secured under my name, the accounts audited. She'd walked into the marriage with nothing, and thanks to her mistakes, she was walking out with less. I shut down her access to the joint cards. The Range Rover? Leased in my name. Gone by Monday morning. Her emergency savings. Turned out she hadn't read the fine print on the accounts. My lawyer had. Frozen. The woman who once bragged she could start over anytime suddenly couldn't even buy gas without asking for help. One night, she cornered me in the hallway, desperation bleeding through the arrogance. "You can't just erase me," she hissed. "I don't need to erase you," I replied. "You did that yourself." Her eyes filled with tears, but not sorrow. Rage. Pure rage. Here's the thing she never understood. When you've been betrayed, you don't rebuild on the same foundation. You start new. I poured my time into work, my friends, even hobbies I'd shelved for years. The guys at the shop joked I looked 10 years younger. Maybe I did. Freedom has a way of ironing out the lines betrayal carves into your face. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because there was one last move to make. Not out of anger, out of principle. She needed to understand that actions have echoes. So, a month later, I mailed a small package to her brokerage office. Inside was a flash drive. On it, a compilation. Photos, emails, recordings, the highlight reel of her double life. The subject line of the email attached read, "Transparency matters." By the end of the week, she was officially let go. Conduct unbecoming, they called it. Polite words for reputation poisoned. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate. I just moved forward, steady as always. But she spiraled. The call started again, this time with sobs instead of smirks. "We can fix this. Please, we can fix this." I didn't answer. Because some performances don't deserve an encore. Months passed. The papers were finalized. The oak box sat empty again, its purpose fulfilled. Then, one morning, I opened the door to find a package on my porch. No return address. Inside was a single photograph, Vanessa and the contractor, sitting on a park bench. She looked tired, worn, her once pristine hair tangled in the wind. He looked bored, scrolling his phone, his arm draped over the back of the bench like she was an afterthought. On the back of the photo, someone had scrawled a note. "Told you she'd turn on me too." No signature, but the handwriting was his. I chuckled. Not bitter, not cruel, just amused. He thought he was warning me. As if I didn't already know how her story would end. I tucked the photo into the oak box, closed the lid, and placed it back on the shelf. Not as evidence, not as leverage, just as a reminder. Because sometimes revenge isn't fire and fury. Sometimes it's colder than that. It's letting someone walk straight into the life they chose and watching as it devours them from the inside. Vanessa wanted excitement, passion, real life, she called it. Well, she got it. And me? I got something better. Peace.